So now we're in section 2 for civics. So let's go ahead and get started. This was going to discuss citizenship. Discuss the role citizenship has in the United States, evaluate the road for naturalization, and compare and contrast illegal aliens with legal aliens. And we'll kind of discuss the difference between the two of those. The United States Constitution, and this is with the 14th Amendment, defines an American citizen as anyone, quote, born or naturalized in the United States. The Constitution defines the two ways to be a U.S. citizen is to be born in the United States or to be a foreigner who chooses to be a citizen. So the Constitution identifies a U.S. citizen as anyone who's born here. I was born in Jasper, Alabama at Walker Regional Medical Center. So by being born in Walker County, I became a U.S. citizen. Also, people that are, like, for example, say your parents are both in the military and they're deployed to, Japan, Germany, whatever, and you're born in Germany, you are still a U.S. citizen because they are stationed on a U.S. base. And so, that if you have American parents, it doesn't really matter usually. Or if you are a foreigner who choose to become a U.S. citizen. So if you are from Mexico, Spain, Germany, France, Italy, and you're like, I want to become a U.S. citizen, you have to go through the process of naturalization, which is a legal process by which people become citizens. If you are born in any of the 50 states or the District of Columbia, you are automatically a U.S. citizen. This is citizenship by birth. It's pretty straightforward. Also, you are a U.S. citizen if you're born in a U.S. territory, such as Puerto Rico or Guam. Children born on foreign soil to American citizens can also claim U.S. citizenship. Children born on U.S. soil to non-U.S. citizens and dual citizens if the child is born abroad to U.S. citizen parents that want to claim both countries. Long story short, if you're born in another country and you want to claim citizenship in both, you can have what's called dual citizenship. But I'm not really spending much time on this. Citizenship by birth just means if you are born in the United States, born to U.S. parents, born on a military base, any of that stuff, you are a legal U.S. citizen. Naturalization, that's what the main part of this section is going to be talking about, so let's get into that. Aliens are non-citizens. An alien, from the sense of someone who's a foreigner, is a non-citizen. I'm not talking about aliens as in extraterrestrials, even though the name does apply to them as well. They're not citizens of the earth, so they are aliens. That's the whole idea. Some aliens come to work, some to study, and some to visit family. So aliens, non-citizens come to the United States for a number of different reasons. Some of them come to work. They may come here on a work visa or something like that. Some come to study. They study abroad and they come to the United States to study, just like people in our country go to other countries to study. And some to visit family. Some have family that live here and they may come and stay, a little while with their family. These are just people that are not citizens. Immigrants are people who permanently move to another country. An immigrant is someone who says, we don't want to visit the United States. We want to move there. We want to set up our lives in the United States. So we're going to move there and we're going to live there. That is an immigrant. Until 1952, aliens that wanted to be U.S. citizens must first sign the Declaration of Intention, which is a statement where non-citizens declare their intention to become citizens. So until 1952, you had to sign a Declaration of Intention, basically saying, I want to be a citizen. And this is no different than anything else. Like I talked to y'all about when you talk about the religion section, and I believe it was chapter 4 of geography. We talked about how that one of the pillars of Islam is that you have to declare that you want to become a Muslim in order to do that, and you agree with what they believe. In the same way, in Christianity, you have to agree that you believe what the Christians do in order to become a Christian. You are basically doing a declaration of an intention, excuse me, to join that religion. In the same way, we have a declaration of intention that you signed that you want to become a citizen. Your intent is to become a citizen. You don't have to do it anymore, but that was originally the first step. The next step is to live in the country for 5 years, or 3 if you're married, during which you would take classes towards citizenship. So the next step is to live in the country for 5 years. They want to make sure that you have an intention of staying there and not coming here and saying, I want to be in the United States and staying here a year and saying, I don't like it, I'm moving back. You got to live there 5 years, but if you're married, they can speed the process up and it'd just be 3 years, during which time you would take classes towards citizenship. Very similar to the class that y'all are taking now. A class that talks about the history of the United States, a class that talks about the way the government's ran, the 3 parts of government, what each branch of the government does, all that kind of stuff, that's included in it. After the declaration of intention and living in the country for the amount of time needed, aliens that are at least 18 years old can apply for citizenship. So, after they did the declaration of intention and they lived in the country for the amount of time they needed to, if they was at least 18 years old, they could apply for citizenship in that country. And so that's kind of how the process works. People under 18 don't really go through all this same stuff. There's people that are over 18 that wants to become U.S. citizens. After the paperwork is filed and checked, the alien has an interview with a U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service official where they must take a citizenship test, which includes basic reading, writing, and speaking of English, as well as questions about history and the government of the United States. So, again, excuse me. Basically, they got to prove they can read and write English. They know a little bit about the history of the United States and how the government works. After everything is completed, the alien attends a ceremony where they are naturalized by pledging an oath of allegiance where they swear loyalty to this country above all others, to obey the Constitution and other laws, and perform military service if needed. Basically, this is the same thing that we as born in the United States citizens that we are supposed to have. Now, it doesn't always work that way. We're supposed to be loyal to the United States above other countries because we're born here. We're agreeing to obey the Constitution because we're born here. We don't give up our citizenship because you can give up your U.S. citizenship. You just can't get it back. So, by doing these things, we agree to obey the Constitution. We agree to obey the law. We agree to perform military service if needed. If we go to the war and we have a draft, men that are 18, I don't remember the exact ages, but are at least 18 years old, agree to serve military service if needed in terms of a draft. And by doing so, if there's a draft, you're agreeing to go and fight, like there was in Vietnam. Whether they are naturalized or native born, most American citizens keep their citizenship forever. It's hard to lose your citizenship, but you can get rid of it. Although state governments can keep certain people, such as convicted criminals, from voting, they cannot deny citizenship itself if the proper procedures are complete. So even if you are a convicted criminal and you can't vote, they still can't keep you from becoming a U.S. citizen if you go through the proper channels. U.S. citizens can voluntarily give up their citizenship, but once you do, you can't get it back. That's also, you owe any debts you're held responsible for in crimes committed in the United States. So if you're like, I'm going to rob this bank, and then I'm going to take $20 million or whatever I get from the bank, and I'm going to go to the Virgin Islands, or because that's still part of the United States. I'm going to go to I don't know, China with my money. So I ain't going to have to worry about being charged. The United States can still get someone in China to arrest you and bring you back so that you can be tried in the United States. It's not like you just get away with it. Also, your debts don't just disappear because you move to another country. You can't rack up, $150,000 in student loan debt, over a house, over 2 cars, and then say, you know what? I don't want to be in debt no more. I'm moving to Spain. You can't do that. You're still responsible to pay back your debt. You're still responsible for any crimes you commit, even if you give up your citizenship. And again, if you give up your U.S. citizenship, it is voluntary, but you will not get it back if you do. The United States limits the amount of people that immigrate every year, with millions of people applying, but only about 675,000 men accepted. They put a cap on it just because they don't want to overflow the country. They want to bring in a certain amount so they can see how the population looks, so they can, decide who they want, how many they want to allow in the next year, stuff like that. Families get special consideration, but people who are willing to work and contribute to society usually get accepted first. If someone has a certain skill or a trade that's needed in our country, then they usually get this process sped up. Families also get special consideration. If you've got family members that live here, then you usually get in a lot quicker. Despite immigration limits, some 5 to 6 million illegal aliens are in the United States. These are people that were not allowed to enter the United States. Some came illegally because they feared the slow, long process to citizenship. And illegal aliens come to the United States in many different ways. A lot of the people that come in are moving to find a better life. A lot of them live in very poor communities, and so they want to come to the United States where they have more opportunities. And the process is slow and long. They feel like, and a lot of them may not be able to survive until they obtain legal citizenship. And so that's the reason why a lot of people come over here illegally. And they do this in a number of different ways. Some of the first illegal aliens came as the braceros, which were workers that came on a temporary work visa during World War II to work in the fields while soldiers were deployed. After the war, many of them never left. So a lot of the descendants of the braceros stayed in this country. They're still here. And they were brought here on a temporary work visa during World War II to work in the fields while the men were all fighting in the war. And so they needed people to work in the fields, so they brought all these people in from Mexico to do this. After the war, a lot of them didn't want to leave, so they stayed here and became illegal aliens because their work visa expired. The word deport means to send back to your own country. You hear people say they're going to be deported, they're deporting people, usually in countries like ICE and some of these government organizations. Just means that they're sending them back to their own country. The United States Border Patrol is the law enforcement agency used to detect and prevent illegal aliens from crossing into the border. This is a law enforcement agency in the same way that police are and things like that, and their job is to prevent people from crossing over the United States illegally. Legal aliens in the United States live much like American citizens. You can have a job, you can own property, you can attend public school, receive certain government services. They also pay taxes. They're entitled to legal protection. So all these things they can do if they're here legally, but they're not a citizen. And these are people that are here, like I mentioned earlier, that are here for work, school, visiting family, things like that. They cannot run for public office. They can't have most government jobs. And they must carry identification cards at all times, so that way they can identify themselves as being a legal alien. So that brings us to the end of section 2. We discussed the idea of citizenship, both natural-born citizens and naturalization, and becoming a citizen through the process of naturalization. And so one of the assignments you have to do is the Oath of Naturalization summary. So you need to make sure you get that done, and that tells you a little bit more about the naturalization process. So that's the end of section 2.